Hey, what's up guys? It's Will back once again for another UFC fight card prediction. We're here for UFC Fight Island 2, UFC Fight Night 172, whatever you want to call it. Deiveson Figueiredo against Joseph Benavidez 2 for the vacant UFC Flyweight Championship of the World, and another really fun looking fight night card. It is 7 p.m. on the Wednesday here, so we have a UFC card happening later on tonight. I've got some decent sized bets going on there, and unfortunately I won't be able to watch the card because I will be I'm up at 4:30 a.m. to go to work, so I can't watch. I'll actually be getting up halfway through the main card, so I won't be watching anything until I come home in the afternoon. But yeah, I just thought I would get this video out. I've did a load of fights. I just did some fights when I come back from work there, so thoroughly looking forward to really going through this card with you. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who donated to me through for the animal charities. We raised a great amount of money, which I'll put something on the page when I get a bit of time to do that. And if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 4,000 subs by the end of 2020. We're closing in 3,700, so if you could help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you could throw a like in the video, that would be awesome as well. I want to know your guys' favourite underdog playing this one, because I think there's a few very live underdogs in this card, I must admit. And I've bet a couple of them, and there's another one I'm actually looking at betting probably in the next day or so. So let me know who you guys' favourite... who your favourite underdog of the card is here. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to start off in the heavyweight division. Sergey Spivak against Carlos Felipe is first on tap here. And I did the MMA huddle. We did two of these back-to-back because we're both guys that are busy. We both got kids and we both work. So I never really got the chance to kind of look into as many fights as I kind of usually do beforehand. And I was thinking maybe Spivak might be a little bit, use the kind of experience here and maybe try and get the fight to the ground. But Felipe's like a big dude. He popped for, I think it's some steroids, got himself a ban. But the guy comes out and throws some serious heat, and he's not the easiest to take down for what I've seen, which is obviously Spivak's kind of choice to kind of win the fight through this. So I can see Spivak coming out, and in the Tybura fight, he threw some nice long shots, but he's defensively just there to be hit, and he's looking to really strike to set up a clinch or get you against the cage to try and take you down, and he could absolutely do that against Felipe here, but honestly, I think I'm going to take Felipe. I think what I've seen of him on the ground, he's okay, but I like the big winging shots that he throws. I think that could hurt someone like Spivak early on. But again, low level heavyweight. It's not a forte of mine that I'm really good at picking fights off of. I'm being honest, we never really have been. For me, the chosen way for Spivak is to get the fight to the ground like the Deiveson fight. If he can do that, then he will probably win the fight from there. Felipe, to me, he'll come out, throw some bombs, just kind of try to keep his distance a little bit and try and hurt Spivak. So, like I say, there was other fights I was more interested in, so I knew I wasn't really going to be betting this one. So I'm going to be taking Carlos Felipe. I'll take him via TKO late round 2. This is a absolute great fight. I've just watched some fights of these guys. Ramos against Tsarukyan, and Chris, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, much appreciated. I'll come out and say I'm a little bit of a fanboy for Tsarukyan. I really like what I see with this kid, and obviously the UFC kind of matchmakers see potential in this kid for the simple reason that look at the matchups they're giving. They came in against Islam Makhachev, took down Islam, was scrambling well with Islam Makhachev, but again, that's Islam Makhachev, and he was fighting him at 22. I think he was 22 years old. He's only 23. Then they match him up with Olivier Aubin-Mercier, which again is a tough fight. A guy that's got a lot of UFC experience. He's dangerous with body kicks. Not the easiest guy to get down. And it's just a tough guy in general. Now you're giving him Ramos, who is an absolute whiz on the ground, big power on the feet. It's kind of he didn't look great against Islam. He just didn't throw. Really didn't. Just really didn't kind of get going in that fight, and that's going to happen because Islam can really shut you down at spots of that. I was kind of a little bit surprised in the Austin Hubbard fight. I think a lot of people were on him to win inside the distance in that one, and I thought it was the kind of fight, as soon as he got him to the ground, it was going to be one and done, and I thought that was going to be the fight was going to be done as soon as he kind of got the back, and he got the back on a couple of occasions, and he never finished the fight, and I was a little bit surprised by that. But what we've seen, Nick Hein, John Gunther, not high level, not even in the UFC anymore, I don't believe. Hubbard's tough, I'll give him that. But yeah, Tsarukyan to me, I've got an eye in this kid, and I seen that before he even came into the UFC. When I heard he was coming in against Islam, I thought I actually think I bet him to win that fight at plus 350. And initially I thought, oh, he's looking good to start off with. Just the experience and the overall brilliant grappling from Makhachev kind of really paid off, and just the experience in that sport really showed off. And this one here, what we've seen of Tsarukyan is his striking's not great. He didn't really strike well against OEM. He get hit with a lot of kind of knees, body kicks, inside leg kicks. So that was a little bit questionable to me. He was diving at legs pretty quickly, very, very hard to get off you. Is he going to want to do that with someone like Davi Ramos and the stature that he has on the ground? I'm not overly sure. But I don't think he's scared to really do something like that. Is to clinch up and try and take him down. I think that's what's more natural to him, is to take the fight there and try. And you've seen in that OEM fight, as soon as he got there and got into top position, and I mean that third round, OEM actually got a really nice takedown. But momentarily, as soon as it hit the mat, Tsarukyan jumped into top control and really just dominated from the there for the rest of the fight and won the fight through that. Like I say, I like Tsarukyan in this one, but I'm definitely not betting it. I'm going to sit back as a fan, because I told you I'm a big fan of this Tsarukyan kid. I think the line's a little bit high in my opinion. I think Ramos is more dangerous than that. So I'm going to take Tsarukyan. I'm going to take him via decision. I think he has more output than Davi Ramos. I think he momentarily might get a takedown here or there. Don't think he really wants to play about with Davi Ramos on the ground. So I will take Arman Tsarukyan via decision in that one there. We are moving on in the flyweight division. And this is another guy I've literally just finished watching. Malcolm Gordon against Amir Albazi. I was pleasantly surprised with Malcolm Gordon. I'd heard about him coming through the TKO promotion, never seen any of his fights. But the guy's a whiz on the ground. He will put himself in bad positions though, which is a little bit worrisome coming into the UFC. But he's so slick on the ground. He will move. He's got such long limbs that he can get up for the triangle really quickly. He can move into different positions really quickly. He will go from a triangle to a Kimura. He'll be rolling the ground. The first fight I watched was, I think it was Dimitri Vardenberg, I think it was, at bantamweight, and he got beat up badly. Inside leg kicks, kicks to the low ankle, really messed him up, and he got taken out in the first round there. But since he's moved down to flyweight, beat some okay guys. Beat Yoni Sherbatov, got the back very quickly. If he gets a position where he can get a neck or he can get the back, you're in a lot of trouble here. And when you look at Albazi, he's actually the guy with more submission wins. I think he's got 7 out of his 12 wins. He's 12-1, only lost to Shorty Torres over there in Brave. Fights out of London Shoot Fighters from Sweden. So, and he is actually a whiz on the ground as well. But I think Malcolm Gordon, he transitions really quickly. I actually saw one of the knockouts, I think it was against Michael Jordan, I think his name was. And he caught him with a nice kind of right jab, but then came over the top with a massive right hand and knocked him out dead. That was at 145, I believe. So he's got power. He's got a little bit of technique on the feet. I think he does get a little bit hit a little bit too easy for my liking. But with Albazi, I've not seen pretty much any striking whatsoever. He's more of a grappler. So this could turn out to be a really good grappling fight. I've got Malcolm Gordon. I'm actually thinking about betting Malcolm Gordon. He's plus 150 here in the UK. I'll need to wait and see. I think I need to try and just wait and see. There's only a couple of books that have got the lines open over here, so I want to see where the line peters out about. But 150 is good. I'm going to take Malcolm Gordon. I'm going to take him via submission. I just think he's dangerous down there, and he can transition into a submission and get the win through that. So Malcolm Gordon via sub. Another great fight. Brett Johns against Montel Jackson. If you asked me at the start of the year what's the guy I'm most looking forward to seeing in 2020, it was Montel Jackson. I hold this guy really highly. I kind of see him in a Jon Jones kind of S-type, where he could make massive improvements very quickly. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him here, because he's getting a step up. He's gone from Colares to a guy in Brett Johns who's fought top top 5 guys, you could probably say, probably the next title contender. You got Munoz, who's right around that top 50, top 5. And he has taken a little bit of beatings in those fights. It's not been overly competitive, but the guy's got a lot of grit, determination. To me, he looks in the best shape of his life. He's sounding in really high spirits. Moved full time to Jack Shore's gym that's not long been open. So he's working there with Jack Shore on the regular, which is only going to help both guys. And I was super surprised that he came in as a big underdog, well, a fairly sizable underdog against Tony Gravely. Gravely is known as a good wrestler, and he showed that. Padgy, thank you very much. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, he showed that he's got a lot of skill in the ground, Tony Gravely, with his wrestling. But once he started to fade, the pikey absolutely came into his own and started to win that fight and take over that fight. I've been a fan of Brett Johns for the longest time. One of the nicest, I keep saying this about certain fighters, but the nicest guys, like one of the guys you could sit and have a beer with and have a really good time chatting away, but just a really sound guy. But I think he is up against it against Montel Jackson here, who I think from fight to fight is going to make massive, massive improvements. I really do. But the betting line in this fight, to me, was off, and I noticed that straight away. I mean, he came in against Ricky Simon, got taken down on numerous occasions, really followed that up with a beautiful Dorse choke over Brian Kelleher. Andre Sukumtath, he beat convincingly, and then he absolutely just, he kind of flew past Felipe Colares, clinched him up, took him down at will, beat him up. I think it's a technical strike. I think he's better than Brett, but Brett's strong. He's a strong MMA grappler with it. I think he's a judo background he's got. I think he's going to, I just think all the experience. I think that my co-host John actually pointed this out to me on the MMA Huddle. Like, he's fought a guy with a kind of similar frame. He fought Wael Watson back at Titan, I think, when he was defending his belt or getting the belt in the title fight. And he's a big, wiry kind of dude, big frame, long, and he dealt with him really well there. I bet Brett Johns at plus 225. I think the betting line came down significantly since then. If you just give me a second to check that. Where are we at? We're at tonight's card. No. Plus 175. So the money is definitely coming on him. But if the line gets low enough, a bet on Montel Jackson is not out of the question for a lot of people, I don't think, because he is a really big talent with a lot of X factors, I think, in his game. But I think Brett can win close rounds. I think he can get momentarily takedowns. If he can get in a position where he can control Montel on the ground, I think he could submit him down there. So I'm taking Brett Johns, even though I'm an absolute massive fan of Montel Jackson. But I just think this might be a jump a little bit too quick. But we're going to see what Montel Jackson's all about. I'm not writing him off, absolutely not, because I think he's got so many X factors within his game. But Brett is tough, gritty, experienced, fought better caliber opposition. And I like the betting line. Honestly, I think plus 225 was off in my opinion, so I went ahead and bet it. So yeah, Brett Johns, I'm going to take via close decision in that one there. The return of Irish Joe Duffy against Joel Alvarez is up next, and this is another betting line which is kind of crazy to me. I don't know who's out there betting Joe Duffy at minus 350, because I wouldn't be. I watched a couple of interviews and the guy's talking about retirement, and he's lost his kind of head a little bit, didn't know what he wanted to do anymore. That showed in the octagon. He's not looked great at all. He got absolutely decimated by Marc Diakiese. Marc Diakiese absolutely smashed him to oblivion, and that wasn't the Joe Duffy that kind of we were used to seeing coming up through Europe. The thing is, I think he's been hurt with that whole beating Connor years ago. He was matched up with guys far too quick for his own good, but maybe he wanted that initially. I think he wanted those big fights. And then he got Dustin Poirier, I think was his third fight in the UFC, beat Jake Lindsay, Ivan George, and then he got Dustin Poirier, and I don't think he looked bad, but Poirier is one of the best at 155. He's just an absolute killer. And then he got knocked out by James Vick, and then Diakiese styling him. So he should roll here against Joel Alvarez, because he is predominantly known as a kind of jiu-jitsu guy. I think he harbours some nice low kicks. He can switch his stances okay, but I don't think he's lethal on the feet. And I think the overall technical boxing of Joe Duffy will be far too much for Alvarez, and I think that Duffy on the ground could compete with someone like Alvarez, who's fought a lot of low caliber guys in Spain and came through that region there and can accumulated wins very easily. So I'm going to pick Joe Duffy. Like I say, I'm not super confident, honestly. I think him talking about retirement's a big kind of red flag to me, but I think he should win the fight here. So I'll actually take him to win via TKO in that spot there. This is another one of these fights that really interests me, and I've got a bet on this fight. Grant Dawson against Nad Narimani. I'll come out and say it straight away. I've put a little bit on Nad Narimani in this spot, even though I think Grant Dawson's got a far more higher ceiling, and he's shown that he's a really hard fighter to kind of really face. He's a hard guy to really get ready for, and he's looked great since he came into the UFC outside of the Julian Erosa fight, but still, he went kind of tooth and nail with a guy there who's been around the UFC and through the Ultimate Fighter, and then he beat Mike Trezano. Derek Menner got them out via submission in the second round. The guy's super strong, the guy can go, but yeah, when I look at this fight here, I think there's a high school wrestling background with Grant Dawson. And like I said, I do think he's looked fairly impressive in his debut, but I think there's times when he'll meet certain fighters that can maybe he can't get the takedowns on, or he can't get a position in, and he could start to fade a little bit. And I'm kind of thinking that Narimani, and he's not a super high caliber wrestler, but if you watch the Mike Grundy fight and so on, when he get taken down, Grundy's predominantly a wrestler. He get taken down, he popped back to his feet. I like that. He's been to Team Alpha Male. They'll be working the wrestling with him non-stop. Now, obviously, he's not been doing that during the whole COVID thing, which is going on, which sucks, but it is what it is. But Dawson is very strong, and you can't let him get your hands on you pretty much, because he loves the body lock takedown. It's something that he uses a lot in his fights, even before he went to UFC. You can see that. But I think his striking sucks. I don't think it's that great. I think that's definitely something he has to work on with James Krause. And I think he can be countered very easily. Not saying that Narimani's an all-out great counter striker that's going to be popping stuff back, but I think he's got enough there to make it competitive on the feet, because we know what Grant Dawson's going to do. He's not going to want to try and show his boxing straight away. That's not him. He's a wrestler. That's what he knows. That's what he's going to go to. And I think that Narimani, even though, like I say, he's not great, I think a great caliber fight. I don't think it'll be a high-end fight. I can see Dawson moving into the rankings and fighting guys like that, but I think he's very, very tough. Came through the scene here in Cage Warriors, got some really good wins. He's did okay for himself in the UFC. Also, I think he's a black belt, a BJJ black belt, so he might be able to kind of stick around a little bit if he does get put in his back or so on down there. But, yeah, like I say, a lot of people are going to be picking Dawson. I've had people that have already looked at my bet on Narimani and said, you've just wasted money. I saw value at plus 225. I think the betting line on that came down a little bit. Yeah, so it's plus 95. I thought it was a little bit too high. I wanted to take a shot, and it's not a big shot, just a 1 unit shot on him. And yeah, I think that this could be a case where Dawson could come out and absolutely run the pipe and just take him down, do that for 15 minutes, or he could potentially get the back, get a submission or so on. But I am going to pick Narimani, not super confident. I think the betting line was off. I think he can make this a close fight. I think he can win a close fight, and that's kind of where I'm going. But I know I'm probably going to be out in the sea in that one. There's not going to be a lot of people in Narimani. People will be in Dawson, but that's just how I see that one. This guy here I was watching the other day, Khadisa Ibragimov against Roman Dolidze. I knew who Dolidze was. I'd heard his name being mentioned, and knew he was. I think he comes out of Georgia, and knew he was a little bit of a madman. Obviously, you've got Khadisa, who's like, he'll come out and it's just he's there to kind of be hit. He will throw everything at you as much as possible to try and get you out of there. But he will gas badly doing so, and if he cannot get you out, which is shown, he is so open to getting taken out himself. And I was really surprised. I am really looking forward to seeing Roman Dolidze here. I think he's I put a tweet out the other day there. I love what the UFC are doing with these 205 guys, bringing like fresh injection of talent. Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochaska. This guy is another guy that is going to add talent to that division. He's only 6-0. So he's probably still a little bit green, but what I've seen is that he's got a little bit of everything. He's got some big knockout power. If you watch the De Souza knockout, oh my god, he absolutely plants one right in his chin and he's just out. And then his last fight, I think, is against Paternak, Michael Paternak, who's a veteran of the kind of European scene, fought some decent guys. Caught him with a spinning back fist and then followed up with some nasty strikes. But I've seen grappling. I've seen him go for heel hooks, jump on things. Cadiz, I think, is going to come out very quickly like he always does and try and push you back, try and hurt you. And he might have a little bit of success earlier on. I just think Dolidze is going to be fine in that spot. I don't think he's going to get taken out. I'd be surprised if he get taken out. And I think once Cadiz starts to really wind down, I think Dolidze is going to come in and land some big power shots and knock him out. The betting line was something I looked at and I liked it at 185. I would like it lower, but he is another newcomer to the UFC. Maybe I just have to sit back and watch and see what's going on with him first before really putting any money against him. But I'm going to take Dolidze. I've not liked what I've seen from Ibragimov in his 2 fights, and I've liked what I've seen of the 6 fights of Dolidze. So I'm going to take him to win that fight. I'll take via TKO end of round number 2. Flyweight division, Alexandre Pantoja against Askarov. I've got Pantoja here. I just think overall he's the better fighter. I think on the feet he mixes up really well. A little bit not the greatest defensively. Can maybe take one too many shots, but his game is shit. He comes forward and just absolutely wants to kind of swing bombs with you, sometimes to his detriment. But I think Askarov's biggest strength is getting the fight to the ground. I don't think he really wants to go down there with Pantoja, who's very deadly with his jiu-jitsu. And he could probably take Askarov down as well and use his jiu-jitsu. So I kind of mark that up to Pantoja in that spot. With the striking, even though Askarov's definitely made improvements with his striking over the 18 months, 24 months that I've kind of watched him, I still don't think he's on the level of Pantoja. I think Pantoja throws better combinations. I think he can rip the leg kick. I think Askarov's a little bit basic with his striking, but pretty decent with it. And I've always been a bit of a fan of Pantoja. I really enjoyed his performance against Neil Seery in Glasgow. Sat front row watching that, and he really picked apart Neil Seery beautifully. And he's had his licks. I mean, he fought Deiveson, took a lot of shots in that fight, got hit a lot in that one, and then really rebounded that. Initially, he was taking a couple of shots against Schnell, which I didn't like too much, but then he followed up, got a beautiful knockout, and he's got power for the flyweight division. I like that. Now, I don't think he takes out Askarov, but I think he beats him over the 15 minutes of the fight, and I think he'll not be far from getting himself in line for a title shot, depending who wins. If Benavidez wins, it's a fight you could obviously make. Davison's a little bit harder to kind of make that fight, but I'll take Pantoja. I actually think there's a little bit of value on his line. It was minus 185. I think it is minus 185 in the UK. In America, I see it's minus 200, so that's probably where I'd cap him at, is minus 200. But yeah, if you're on that fight, all the best to us. I don't think it's a great fight for Askarov, pretty much. So, moving on, Ariane Lipski against Luana Carolina. Yeesh. Lipski, who came in obviously at the UFC with a lot of hype coming out of KSW and really has kind of flattered to deceive in that spot there where she initially got Jojo Calderwood, who's a top 3 ranked fighter in her division now, so that's not great. Came against Molly McCann and really just tried to swing there, and Molly kind of getting better with her game, took the fight to the ground surprisingly and won the fight very easily through that. And then she rebounded, she did get a win, but it was kind of squirrely against Isabella Dupadua last time out in November. That was a little bit squirrely for my liking. I don't think she looked overly great. I thought she won the fight, but don't get me wrong. But yeah, I don't think it was a great look for her, honestly. I think she's obviously got a lot of hype behind her, the way she looks. She's a bonny lass, but I think she's kind of petered out in the UFC a little bit, in my opinion. What I liked about Carolina is that even though she was against Priscilla Cachoeira, I can see you guys in the chat there. I appreciate you. All the best. I really all the best for your picks tonight and the card that's coming this Saturday. Appreciate you guys in the chat there. Yeah, Cachoeira is just a human punch bag, pretty much, and that showed against Carolina. It showed against everybody. I mean, I think my 3-year-old daughter in the living room there could punch away in Cachoeira and probably probably land a load of strikes on her, to be fair. So, yeah, Carolina, I think... this is a hard fight for me to pick, because I think that Lipski can maybe, I think, mix it up a little bit, but I'm not super confident in that. I'm seeing some people actually confident in Carolina and they're going to be betting as a dog. What odds is she at? Like +110. I don't like that. Like, I would like a little bit more, even though it's dog money against Ariane Lipski. But yeah, I've not looked into it too much. It was not one that really jumped out to me with kind of tape. There's other guys, especially with all the fights we've got. It's hard. You kind of got to pick your poison in some spots. And this was one I didn't really want to spend too much time. So I kind of watched a couple of fights. Obviously, Carolina's UFC debut and the couple of fights of Lipski. I think she can. I think you've got to remember as well that she's got power. She dropped girls before she came into the UFC. Oh, this is tough. I feel like I should be picking Carolina, but Lipski's the kind of gut feeling I've got in this pick. I'm going to take Lipski. And I know it's probably going to come back to bite me in my fat ass, but I think she can maybe mix up a little bit. I think she's maybe a little bit more a threat on the ground, even though we've seen her taken down. Yeah, that's not going to be a confident pick of mine. Ariane Lipski, I'll take via a kind of sloppy decision. Marc Diakiese against Rafael Fiziev. This to me is a really, really good fight, and I think the kind of hype train can maybe start to get back on track with someone like Marc Diakiese after him kind of getting beat up pretty badly against Nasrat Haqparast, where I actually think it's funny because before he went to American Top Team, he was all hyped up as everything. People were really looking forward to seeing this guy going to American Top Team. How much is it really going to play out for him out there in Florida? And it really just kind of fell flat on its face. He didn't look great. I don't know, it's the hype of being at a kind of top camp. Really kind of hurt him. Maybe it was the hype in his own head, maybe being away from his family. But he didn't look great in those fights when he was at American Top Team. Stripped everything down, went back to Doncaster, where he's from, and really just started to put it all together. The thing is with this fight here, Fiziev is a striker, and he's a very good and he's aggressive striker. That's what he's kind of known for, coming out, I think with Muay Thai, and he's out there in Thailand at Tiger Muay Thai. He's one of the coaches out there. So he is very, very dangerous with his striking. Not so much grappling. I think people kind of forget that Diakiese, before he went to the UFC, used his grappling a lot. I remember seeing it in Manchester against Lewis Sajewski, where you could see his bare strength. Like, it was really, really effective in that fight there. But I think that Diakiese learnt a lot from that Haqparast loss, where he really got beat up. He got his legs kind of beat up a little bit. He had no space. And Haqparast was just first to the punch and just really beaten up pretty badly. And then you've seen, since then, he's made a massive jump against Joe Duffy, completely dismantled him with the striking. Beautiful, beautiful debilitating leg kicks, which absolutely stopped Duffy in his spot there. And then he followed that up against Lando Vannata, where he was just beating up Vannata with the leg kicks again. Beautiful combination striking. He had some takedowns in that fight, I remember, I think 3 or 4. So I think if this stays a standing, Fiziev is a live fighter, because that's where predominantly his skill set is. He's very fast, and he's definitely got some power there. I can see this being close, honestly. I don't see Diakiese like absolutely blitzing through him. I'd be surprised if that happened. I'd be surprised if it kind of looks like the last 2 fights, where he's kind of really dismantled Vannata and Duffy very, very easily. I'd be surprised if it's that easy. But he's got all the talent in the world to kind of make it that easy. He is such a talented fighter, in my opinion. But I am going to pick Diakiese. I think he's going to take a hard decision in this one here. I think Fiziev will give him some licks. I think he'll have to come through a couple of sketchy spots. But I see Diakiese getting the win via decision in that one there. The co-main event, Jack Hermansson against Kelvin Gastelum. I've kind of been going back and forward in this one a little bit, but I am going to pick Kelvin Gastelum. He's going to be my pick here. He needs to fight big. He needs to rebound, because he lost that fight to Darnell. I went back and watched that, and at the time I thought Gastelum was a little bit unlucky, but no, I thought Till was just the winner, not by much though. But Gastelum to me is one of those very he's such a talented fighter, but I just don't think mentally he ever kind of will ever put it all together. Even in saying that, like 2 fights ago, he was fighting Izzy Adesanya getting into that 5th round with it all on the line, and he still got a massive opportunity to have that middleweight strap round his waist. And the guy who wanted it most obviously came out and took it in Adesanya. But like I said, this is a massive fight. He has to rebound. Has he ever had 3 losses in a row? No. He's had a couple there, so he really needs to bounce back here. And he's against someone in the Joker who is deadly. He's one of my favourite fighters in the middleweight division by far. I love the way he fights, his aggressiveness. He could definitely spam body kicks on someone like Gastelum here, who's very short, could absolutely smash to the body. And we know that if he can get the fight to the ground, his top game and his ground and pound is kind of legendary at this point. But we've kind of that kind of near fight when he realised that he couldn't get that game plan off, he kind of shut down a little bit and he started eating shots for fun. And I don't think Gastelum's going to be super easy to really get to the ground. The plus money when I seen in Jack Hermansson was actually really appealing to me, because anytime you can get plus money in that guy and in certain spots, you take it. The Jacare Souza fight was the spot there which I pinpointed straight away. I knew that was a fight I wanted to bet Jack Hermansson. He came out there and fought a great fight. But like I say, there's so many things I like about Jack Hermansson. His top pressure and his ground and pound is just, I think it's one of the best in the UFC. But he needs to get the fight there, because I think in a standing type fight, I think I just edged the fast hands, the versatile boxing of Kelvin Gastelum. He's very, very quick. Obviously a smaller dude for the division, kind of built like a kind of tree trunk a little bit. But I think he realises from I watched a couple of interviews regarding him, and he realises there's a massive fight to get back on track here. I think I would like Jack Hermansson to win, but I'm going to pick Kelvin Gastelum. I think he's going to edge another close decision. I think he takes over probably rounds 2 and 3. I think it's initially going to be very close, but once Jack maybe can't get the fight to the ground, I think he may start to peter off a little bit. I think Kelvin can come into this fight and win via decision. So I've got Kelvin Gastelum via decision in that one. And the main event, the rematch, Deiveson Figueiredo, Joseph Benavidez. I've always been a big fan of the tenaciousness of Joe Benavidez, and just like he only really loses to top guys. You look at his record, and the guys he's lost to is Figueiredo, Cruz, Demetrius Johnson. So he's only lost to, like, Pettis is kind of thrown in there. He's actually got a good fight against Ricky Bandejas next week. But this fight took place. When did it take place? Let me actually bring that up. When was it? Joseph Benavidez. So this took place back in February, and it really all came down. There was a headbutt. Now Joseph Benavidez for years, he always kind of leads with his head. So really, it's his kind of fault, in my opinion, how that kind of all went down. And when you're hurt against a guy like Figueiredo with the bombs that he throws, you could be in a lot of trouble here. I actually think Joseph Benavidez is live in this fight. I don't like what's going on with Deiveson Figueiredo. He said that he tested positive for COVID-19. The team didn't like what they seen. They said something was up with that. Then he supposedly was fine. He got into Abu Dhabi about 24 hours ago this time, so probably this time yesterday. He's got to quarantine for 2 days, so that will take him to Friday evening, or Thursday evening, sorry. And then he's got to make weight on the Friday morning, which is a little bit shitty if we're kind of saying what it is. That's not great at all. But from what the managers and the trainers of Deiveson are saying, that he was 10 pounds lighter at this point than what he was the last time out when he missed weight. Joseph, to me, he will have the output, and he will pitter patter strikes, where Deiveson will have the more fight defining, like, bigger strikes, in my opinion. He's the guy that could drop someone like Benavidez. He's the guy that can finish Benavidez with heavy knockout power. Joseph's not going to do that, not unless he lands the picture perfect shot, and I just don't see that happening. But if Joseph can come out, and I think over the course of a 25-minute fight, he has got an opportunity, in my opinion, to really set the pace in that fight. And if he can set it, and Deiveson can maybe not get up to the level of that, then he could definitely run out a winner, in my opinion, in Joseph Benavidez. But to me, Joseph has kind of looked like he's teetering a little bit. The guy's old. How old is he now? So he's 36, coming at the end of this month. I mean, that's a lot in that division. There's a lot of young gunners coming through, and he looks like he's kind of petering off a little bit, but the guy's still game as hell, and always ready, to kind of scrap. But I just think this is the wrong guy to really do this against. Deiveson got a kind of reactionary takedown in the fight. The power shots to me are going to count more in this fight. I think they're going to hurt Benavidez at certain points, but this whole narrative of Deiveson not getting into Abu Dhabi late and then having to quarantine for 2 days, then make weight, to me is kind of scary. And if you're wanting to play, what is Joseph Benavidez, plus 170, I think he's plus 180 in the UK here. I don't think it's a bad bet if you think that he can survive and then move into later rounds, and kind of win rounds decisively through that. I'm not going to be playing Joseph Benavidez. I've seen how this fight goes down. I see the more powerful strikes of Figueiredo coming back to the forefront, and I think he will catch Benavidez with a clean shot at some spot in this fight, actually in the first 3 rounds, and I think he could put him to sleep. So I'm going to pick Joseph Benavidez I'm going to pick Deiveson Figueiredo to knock out Joseph Benavidez inside the first 3 rounds there. So that's my picks for UFC Benavidez versus Figueiredo 2. We're on to Darren Till against Robert Whittaker next week, which is 14 fights. So from tomorrow, I'm going to start getting into that. I'll get that video out for you maybe Monday or Tuesday. So I very much appreciate all you guys that have been in the chat there. If there's anybody there that's not giving me a thumbs up, if you could, that would be much, much appreciated. Really enjoyed the fights tonight, because I think we've got some really good fights tonight. I'm really pissed that I have to miss these fights because I have to go up for work, but like I say, I'm getting up at 4:30 AM. The fights are probably still going to be going till 6 AM, so I might catch a few on the way to work, who knows. But my max bet on Abdul Razak Al Hassan, just please come in. That's what I'm after tonight. All the very, very best, guys. Enjoy tonight's fights, enjoy Saturday's fights, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care.